Hi, hello guys, my name is Mia Marie, and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. When someone has their sun in Sagittarius, we see a soul that comes to earth in effort to understand, accept, and love the other, whatever that means to them. And their job is to turn around and teach the rest of us how to understand, accept, and love the other. They want the world to feel bigger. That is a quality of Sagittarian love or Sagittarian energy, is if it's good, make it bigger. It's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is the planet that is the same size as all the other planets combined, but it's filled with nothing but hot air. And so Sagittarius has this tendency from time to time to overpromise and underdeliver. And it's not because you just fall low on their list of priorities that they don't show up. It's that they want to say yes to everything. If they could, they would be everywhere at once, because they're stimulated that way. In order to understand other people, you have to subject yourself to multiple different situations. And this is why they also enjoy traveling, because there is this inner knowing or recognition of perspectives and how limited they can be. And so when they're traveling or they need to get away for a little bit, it's not just them needing a vacation and they're just running around, running away from responsibilities. They are actually doing soul work when they're out there. They're having conversations. They're learning about how other people operate in the world and what they believe and why they believe that. And so freedom is really important to a Sagittarius because it feeds their soul. It contributes to their motive to learn, accept, and love. Now, Sagittarius is a fire sign, and it is Jupiter. So this is someone who feels really positive. They're optimistic, they're expansive, they're typically learned, they have a talent or skill, or there's just something that they know really well, and they seem to have, it's like they're born with this wise old man inside of them. They have wisdom to share with other people, and they often position themselves, low functioning, is like they're preaching at you, but they're a professor of sorts to the rest of us. Now, being the third fire sign, Sagittarius takes the ego that Aries has established, the personality that Leo has created and celebrated, and then goes, okay, I'm kind of done with the social thing. I'm ready for something bigger. What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? And so oftentimes they will subscribe to a specific belief system, a philosophy that they've learned, or they have some kind of religious background or religious association. And what you will see more often than not is that they grew up in an environment where certain beliefs were instilled in them. And there happens to be like an aha moment where they recognize either, yes, this is for me and I'm going to build on it, or, oh, I actually think that life works differently. Let me go and figure it out. Sagittarius has a reputation of being hesitant to commit. They like to keep their options open. And the main reason behind that is they're like a wild horse. They need to know that they can go anywhere, that they can explore anything at any time. And the idea of a relationship inherently means that there have to be boundaries somewhere. And they're like, what? Does that mean I have to stay in this stable? They tend to be extreme also. And so when things are presented to them, they'll take it to the fullest extreme. Oh, if I'm in a relationship, I'm just hanging out with you all day, and it makes them feel bound. And that goes against everything that they live for, everything that they stand for, everything that they're trying to accomplish. They have a big mission. They're a universally oriented sign. And so you can see why as soon as they think of relationship, it's like, no. But what I found is that Sagittarius characters are excellent in relationships, but so long as you are willing to be truthful and to have honest conversations about what the other person needs, and there needs to be a mutual respect and understanding for the other person's agenda. So if you are someone who is independent and you have your own hobbies and your own life going, then this should be a pretty easy match because they do always come back. You know, they need to touch base. They need to come home. They're not like Gemini, where Gemini has no problem being homeless spiritually. Sagittarius likes a place where it can go back to rest. And so I think that they are good at relationships, but you can't cage them in. If they want to travel for a couple of weeks alone, you have to be able to manage your own insecurity and be like, you know what? I see what you're doing. I support you. Have fun. Have the best time of your life. If you want to be in constant communication with them, if you want to go with them everywhere, unless you're a wild horse too, then you guys can mob together. They just don't want to be stopped. So it's not that they don't like shared experiences. It's not that they need to be independent. They just need someone who's going to carry the same energy as them because they are very much aware of how people are coming off and they are sensitive to negative or low functioning energy. And so at the beginning of the relationship, they might tolerate it for a little bit, but they'll be very quick to just say, you know, it doesn't feel good. And they may even create distance and just start doing things by themselves. Another thing is that even when they are in relationships, they are still flirty and playful with other people because they really just have so much energy and so much curiosity that they can spread themselves very thin. And it's not necessarily that they have more interest in somebody else. It's just like, oh, that's new. That's new. I haven't seen that before. Let me go talk to that. And so kind of having, I don't want to say thick skin because they're not overtly disrespectful in my personal experience, but you will find them from time to time being flirtatious with somebody else. And it's like, okay, you know, have your fun. And you know when they cross the line because they're not going to be quiet about it. All other aspects to the side. Pure Sagittarius energy is not going to be quiet about the disrespect. It'll be obvious. It'll be right in front of you. And it's important to remember that it is ruled by the element of fire. And so they need something to burn. They need something to do. If there's nothing to do, if there's nothing to explore, if there's nothing that they're working on that provides meaning and value, they are going to burn themselves out. And because they're so optimistic, they're going to forget what it feels like when they push themselves to that extreme or when they're unstimulated in that way. So they can find themselves in that rut time and time again. But, you know, you got to feed the fire. Being a sign that's here to learn and understand life deeply and examine life deeply and make meaning of it, they appreciate someone who is also intelligent, someone who is focused on growing and learning and developing, because they want a stimulating conversation. They don't actually get off to always having power or always having authority. They want to feel like their partner is accelerating in their development with them. Again, like two wild horses running together is what they would like ideally. Some deal breakers for Sagittarius. One thing that will immediately turn them off and make them pissed off is if you're not being honest and they know it. If they have collected like evidence towards you, or if they've seen something firsthand, or if they just have a gut feeling that something is off and they confront you and you're nervous to own up to your own shit or to have an uncomfortable conversation, they're not going to like it. And the blessing is that it is a fire sign. So for the most part, they get hot really quickly, but they also want to go back to that positive charge really quickly. So their goal is to like, let's just put it out on the table. Like, what's going on right now? Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling so we can move past it. They don't want to stay in a dark place, especially in their relationships. Another thing that they don't like is, again, being held too tightly. It's like Sagittarius, even though, you know, it's not a water sign, it's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter that you grasp it, it's just going to spill. It's a slippery lover. It has parallels to like the theory of money and abundance. It's a slippery lover. And so it comes to you and it stays with you so long as you are willing to share it. So if they come to you and you're wanting to hold them and keep them and you're just tight and tense, just like money, just like abundance, they're going to stop coming to you because they're for the streets. They're for the world. And so yes, you can't put a leash on a Sagittarius. You just have to trust that they will come home, and they will. Also, if you are inflexible, if you believe what you believe and you're unwilling to at least understand, the bare minimum is just understand. If you are unable to show that you can comprehend what they've learned and what they're integrating, then they're going to find you boring, stale, and unattractive. Another important quality is that they are spontaneous. Sometimes the fire is just lit at any hour of the day, and so they appreciate someone who is adventurous. For example, if you are laying in bed, it's like 3 a.m, and Sagittarius wakes up and goes, "Hey, do you want to go to Japan tomorrow?" The ideal partner is going to say, "Why don't we get up, make some coffee or make some tea, and let's talk about it." Now, someone who's not going to be a good match for Sagittarius is someone who dismisses the impetus to explore, who looks at them and says, "It's 3 a.m. We have responsibilities. What are you doing?" Contractual. It's someone who's tight, right? No. Entertain the inspiration. Let them see it through. Someone who is born with their sun in Aquarius has a soul that came into this world to awaken our consciousness. It's almost as if they have a different set of eyes than the rest of us. They see the world differently. And a lot of the time, stereotypical astrology is like, "Oh my God, you're trying to be different or you're trying to be unique." No, that's just the way that they see the world. And often it creates this immediate recognition that you don't fit anywhere. Aquarius doesn't fit in any specific space, and it creates social anxiety. They don't know how to act. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. There is an ambivalence towards being around people because they don't quite, it doesn't compute in their head. Their minds are like computers. They are the 11th sign, which means that they are the third, the eldest air sign. So they take the perspective, the information that Gemini collects. They know that they have a mind, and then they take the information that Libra collects. They know how to put themselves in other people's shoes. They know how to compromise. They know how to negotiate. They know how to establish trust. And then they go, "Okay, how do we get everyone to trust each other? How do we create a community? And how do we develop this community? How do we transform our experience of life together? How do we elevate everybody?" The interesting paradox with Aquarius is that they are knowledgeable. They're a resource. They have leadership skills. They are often the people that others go to when they don't know what to do as it relates to a community or group activity. They're human rights activists. They can find the gaps in structures. They know how to advance us in a very positive way, but they don't like being the center of attention. And oftentimes they don't like talking about themselves. They may feel internally like they don't want to attach to a label because they have a hard time accepting and celebrating the ego. They're the opposite of Leo. Leo is all about, here's my personality, here's how I shine. Aquarius takes that attitude but positions it towards the community. How can we shine? How can we develop? How can we be celebrated in the most honest and authentic way? And so you'll find that they're comfortable behind a computer or on a phone, but can be a little socially awkward. I think that they would feel socially awkward, or as if there is never a place for them, even when they are in a community. And this feeling can be uncomfortable for them at first. It can manifest as social anxiety, and they may even avoid social situations depending on where they are inside of their head. But it serves a purpose. And that purpose is that you need to remain detached enough so that you can innovate, so that you can think your own thoughts, so that you can go off in your own direction. And oftentimes they're trailblazers, they're trendsetters. They are always 10 steps ahead of the community. And because they are also a fixed sign, they're stubborn, they are unmovable in that. They have to have a certain level of confidence in their ideas and opinions in order to say, "No, I'm not going to conform. You are going to come here. And here's why you're going to come here. And this is how it benefits you. And this is how the human race is developing, whether you like it or not." They have this amazing ability to gaze into space and project a very clear image of a future that is totally within our capability. Like we can totally arrive to that space with them. I've said this and I will continue to say it, that even though Aquarius is an air sign, it is very sensitive, more sensitive than it realizes. And what happens when they're overstimulated is they become numb and they detach. This is the soul wound of someone who has strong Aquarius in their chart, because things are always changing and because these changes affect so many people in so many negative ways that they feel equipped or responsible for repairing. They will detach from the part of themselves that cares just to stay afloat, just to stay with the changes in culture and society. And so there is this robotic tone to them, or there can be just an obvious lack of emotion. You can be struggling with something and you can be crying in front of them and explaining all the which ways that you're heartbroken or let down, and just the opposite. You could be super happy about something and there's this robot before you like, I understand. The way of loving is that they've often researched what you're going through and what's going on in your brain and how humans typically act and how to repair that specific thing. And so they're able to like spit back this report to solve your problem, but it can be hard for them to stay in the emotion or to sympathize with you. And it's not a reflection of how much they do or don't care about you. It's more so a reflection of their internal state of being. It's hard for them to access emotions. Surprisingly enough, however, they make excellent partners because they understand the Libra lesson of trust and compromise. But they also are not looking for something hot and fiery, that flirty fling that Gemini wants. They want a friend. They understand that if they are going to commit to something long term, they have to be with someone that they like. They don't have to have the same interests, but this person has to be stimulating and intelligent and good-hearted and good-spirited. They want to be with their best friend. That is their ideal partner. And so they may hesitate to commit. I haven't heard too many complaints about Aquarius people not getting into relationships, but when they do, it tends to last because they do think long term. And they often choose someone from I don't want to say non-emotional space, because the spirit, the soul does respond to people, but it's not so much about how you make them feel. It's that you guys are just so compatible with each other that it makes sense for you to be together. And that's why Valentine's Day surprises everybody that it's in an Aquarius season. But traditionally, that's when people were getting married. And statistically, Aquarians have the most success when they get married because, again, they marry for the right reasons. They're using their head and their soul together to make the just call. Aquarius and love, they will want to talk to you. They'll want to know what you're thinking, what you've learned, what is stimulating you. They're going to have those late night conversations. They're going to be very present with you. And again, not super emotional about it, but they are wanting to collect data on you. They're going to master you in one way, shape, and form. That's a kind of hidden quality to them, is that they're constantly collecting data on you. So they can put it into their computer and they know what to expect and they know what you want and they know where you are mentally, emotionally. And they're just so friendly. That's what it is. They're just so nice to be around. I don't have any complaints about an Aquarius. Now, some downsides to dating an Aquarius, or not downsides, but what they don't like is they don't like somebody who is negative, emotional, or moody, because it flies in the face of their energy. And it's not so much that you affect their mood, it's that what you're saying and what you're doing is irritating and inefficient and a waste of time. And those are all things that they prize. They like being efficient. They like using energy positively. And if you're focused on things from the past or things that you can't control, then you're not making good use of this brilliant brain that you have. Another thing they won't like is if you're impolite or rude to other people, or if you don't care about social movements. If you are mispronouncing people's names after they've corrected you, if you're not in the know about what communities are working through what, or if you have a blatant disregard for the overall quality of humanity and people's lives, they will have no respect for you. because this is what their life is about. They are in service to people. They are trying to break the minds, the structures that keep us bound and limited and trapped in a pastime. And so you embodying that energy, it's like, oh my God, no, you're the enemy, you're the foe. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Uranus is the modern ruler, but Saturn is the traditional ruler. And so typically you have two types of Aquarius. And what's interesting is that they embody both of them at different times of their life. So either the Aquarius person comes in very quirky, atypical, doesn't fit in, and then as time goes on, they become more Capricorn-like. They're more serious and they're about the mission and the rules and following protocols. Or you have someone who ages backwards, who is all about the rules and tools and following what authority says and doing what you're supposed to do. And then they get really quirky in their older years. So it just depends. Now, going back to deal breakers, Aquarians are rebellious by their programming. They come into this world needing to stir shit up, needing to awaken our consciousness to pull us along. If it weren't for Aquarians, we wouldn't have women's rights. We wouldn't have gay rights. It's that energy that progresses us as the human race. And so if they are trying to rebel against a specific structure and they're starting to embody that rebellious energy and you shun them and you further ostracize them, if you are not a friend or an ally in their development and experimentation, they're going to want to leave you because they're stubborn. That's what they do. They dig their heels in. They won't be emotional about it. They won't yell at you. They won't raise their voice. They won't criticize you. They'll just sit you down and say, this isn't working out. I don't think we're a good match. And they can do this because their passion is towards people, groups, social reform. And so they don't inherently want or see the need for a partner unless they have a partner who, is truly a partner and shows up for them and supports them. Then they understand the value of that relationship. But until that point, if you're just a nuisance, if you're just another critic, if you're just someone who makes them feel more weird than they already feel, what's the point of having you? See your way to the door. Thank you. Bye. I will say this though. One thing that I've noticed through working with clients with Aquarius placements is that once they are in a committed relationship, and they have in their mind said, I'm going to be with this person for the long run. If they actually have married somebody and it's not working out, it can take them a long time to actually leave. And it's because they're committed. They're stubborn. They're a fixed sign. They often do what they believe in. And I think that's kind of the lesson that you learn when you're with these types of partners is Aquarians awaken to their own unconscious motives through these dysfunctional relationships. They self-actualize through these relationships that don't work, but that fixed quality allows them to stay in relationships that they would otherwise recognize as unhealthy. But all in all, Aquarius is a great partner in, I would say passion, I would say play, but it's neither of those. They're just a great partner to have in life because they will commit to you, they won't play games, and they are focused on something bigger than themselves at all times. They want to make an impact. They want to help us all grow and develop. Sun in Aquarius, Sun in Sagittarius. This combination is chef's kiss. When they come together, we see magic, we see miracles. They are compatible in many different ways. I will start at the most fundamental. Textbook astrology, fire and air. When these two come together, we get fireworks. It is this brilliant display of energy where we are levitating from mundane reality and we're beginning to explore what exists above and beyond us. Now, these are two universally oriented signs, which means that they're not focused on personal development as much as an Aries, and they're also not focused on social acceptance like a Leo or a Libra. They're thinking, how do we connect communities? How do we connect cultures? How do we connect countries? Where are the barriers? Where are the gaps in our structure, in our personal structures within our own country that lead to divide? And so there won't ever be, they will never have a moment when they're looking at each other like, oh my God, you're so selfish. They're dedicating their lives to helping other people in a really big way. Now, Sagittarius is pushing the boundaries physically. It wants to venture into new lands, new territories. It wants to talk with people who believe different things with the sole intention of it, understanding where the differences exist, why people think differently, and in the place of this wall, create a bridge of love. So we can have acceptance and unity. And Aquarius is looking at the world and saying, okay, which people are like, it's focused on marginalized groups, social justice, human rights, anything that has to do with social reform. It's really good at looking at what structures are in place and identifying gaps or flaws. It understands that, everything changes every single day, and therefore our structures need to represent the ways in which we develop and grow. And so you can see how these two will naturally be interested in what the other one is doing, but will also benefit from being around the other one. Aquarius is a cerebral sign. It is excellent at creating mental structures. And Sagittarius is wanting to put those structures into practice. And so a lot of the times you'll find that they are inspired and motivated to be a part of the other person's agenda. These are not two people who need a partner in crime at all times, or a partner in play. I would even say that they could be a partner in play. Aquarius typically likes to mob alone, but with a Sagittarius there is this openness that a Sagittarius brings that makes Aquarius feel comfortable being with somebody. And I think it's because Sagittarius also doesn't like labels, it doesn't like being cubbyholed, and it's also on the move quite frequently. And so Aquarius can feel like in practice Sagittarius is being the person, right? Because Aquarius doesn't like to be a person, it likes to be a robot. It's being the person that it would like to be. And so Sagittarius, through its own motive and drive, will ask Aquarius, what do you want to be? What is the adventure of your life? What do you want to experience? And this is very humanizing for a cold-hearted Aquarius. I'm not saying that they're cold-hearted, but I'm saying, going back to like the robot theme. And Sagittarius reminds, Aquarius that there's a difference between thinking really innovative ideas and then living a life that is, quite unusual and exciting and worthwhile and fulfilling. So Sagittarius will show up for Aquarius in many measurable ways. Aquarius may be organizing some kind of protest or social movement, and Sagittarius will literally go in and get their hands dirty and start talking to all these different communities, and they'll bring valuable intel back to Aquarius, and it will, make Aquarius feel like, wow, like what I'm doing is really meaningful even to my partner, and it will create more closeness. Now, another thing is Aquarius is ruled by Saturn also, and Uranus. So there is this rebellious quality, but they can also be quite stubborn, fixed, and constrictive when they are focused on something. There is like a hyper attentiveness to complete certain tasks, and Sagittarius might find that not the best. Sagittarius likes to hear yes at all times. In fact, it is known for overpromising and underdelivering because genuinely it wants to be everywhere at all times. And so Sagittarius can look at Aquarius like, oh my God, have some fun. Let your hair down. Be normal. Be a human. Come play. And Aquarius will be like, playing is not for me. Like, I must continue my tasks. And so, but that seems to be like really light. And I think that Sagittarius could even look at that as an admirable trait, that when Aquarius is focused on something, like they will see it through. Aquarius is also a fixed sign, which means that it stands by what it says and it does what it says it's going to do. If it is choosing a partner, then it will be devoted to that partner. It will be very hard, in fact, for an Aquarius to change their heart or their mind once they have decided on somebody or something. But because it's also freedom loving and it is usually quite ambitious, Sagittarius will feel comfortable committing to this person. And Aquarius can also give Sagittarius the intellectual structures that it needs to function a little bit more sure-footedly. I feel like Aquarius is the person who could train the wild horse to use its energy to its own benefit, for Sagittarius's own benefit, not for Aquarius's own benefit. And so here you have two people who would really make great friends. Like at the heart of their companionship, I think they look at each other with a great deal of respect, trust, admiration, and because of this friendship, it keeps them bound for the long haul. As we all know, Sagittarius is a mutable sign. It's changeable. It doesn't like being caged in or boxed in. And this works really well with an Aquarius because they naturally understand that people change every day and there is no expectation that you better be who you were yesterday. Like we can always change the plan if we need to, or change the details of the plan if we need to. I think if it was more of a long-term thing, then Aquarius might have a harder time adjusting to that because, again, that stubborn and fixed quality needing to be in control. If either one of them needs to be in control, it's going to be the Aquarius. But the go with the flow type of energy that a Sagittarius embodies complements an Aquarius because they learn that when they listen to their body, when they listen to their gut, when they trust in themselves, they can live a really fun and adventurous life. And I also think when these two come together, there is an ability, a permission slip to chart previously uncharted territory. They can have conversations about really unusual things like polygamous marriage or sexuality. They will explore the topics that most people would consider taboo or inappropriate because they are both in search for the truth, not of their own lives, but the truth for everybody. And so they won't even need to wrestle. It's more of like a ping pong of like, oh, I think this and I think this and I think this. And it creates like this playful game that actually strengthens their bond. They are able to be completely open and transparent with each other in a way that neither one of them can with other signs. Sagittarius also brings this like spiritual, philosophical component to the relationship that has Aquarius thinking beyond like simple mental transactions and starts thinking like, oh yeah, there is a purpose to life, and like tell me more about what these philosophies are. And so it can enrich the spiritual life of an Aquarius by being in constant conversation with somebody who is searching for the meaning of life. In fact, Aquarius can stop looking so much at statistics and data and research and also try to make meaning behind its story privately, because a lot of the time Aquarius is so focused on others that it will understand its meaning in reflection to what it has done for other people. But Sagittarius will be like, no, like what is it to you though? Like you are authoring your story. So that's really great. All right. Oh, I will mention one thing that just immediately came to my mind. I'm sure that there are more, but right now I only have one. Sagittarius has foot and mouth syndrome. And sometimes when it's a little fiery and feisty and it's feeling really big and bold, or if it's just maybe even off of its rocker, it can take on this arrogant personality that Aquarius does not like or tolerate and does not exhibit itself. So when it, like say for example, Sagittarius is depressed because it's working this job that's only paying them in money, which is the greatest curse for any Sagittarian, they will go out and drink belligerently, and everyone in the room will be irritated with whatever Sagittarius is doing because they're just so over the top in the grossest way. And they might say some things that they do mean, but they wouldn't normally say if they weren't buzzed. Aquarius will be like, no, we have to respect people, and we do actually have certain expectations and rules to follow as it relates to treating other humans. So yeah, that's the only negative that I can think about right now. Maybe I'm just being too positive, but I really do love this combination. This is only one component of literally 2,000. So if you would like to learn more about your relationship with an Aquarius or a Sagittarius, or just about your life in general, you can find me at wellandrising.com/services. Toodles.